Hi, thanks for joining me again. This is Struggling to Whistle, Pregnancy Part 1. Pregnancy will be in two parts because it's such a large subject area and I don't want to miss anything or rush through it too much. So if you have a mental health condition prior to starting a family, you will have lots of things to consider. I considered whether I would pass on my mental health condition to my child. I also considered whether my medication would have to change and what that would mean for me. And also, I considered, would I be able to handle being a parent and be able to be the parent that I would like to be? Now, whilst I can't answer those questions for you, I can tell you what my answers were. I didn't deem it too big of a risk in terms of passing my bipolar on to my son. I also figured that the medication change was neither here nor there, in that my medication changes fairly regularly anyway, because it works for a while and then it stops working, so they're constantly re-evaluating my medication, so a change in medication really wasn't that big of a problem for me. And in terms of being a parent and being able to be the parent I want, that's the one that scared me the most, because obviously I do have bad days where I can't get out of bed and I can't function, and even the smallest things are these massive ordeals. But after talking it through with my husband, we decided that seeing as I had such a great support network around me, that we could do it. Now, we had a difference of opinion in that he believed we would get pregnant really fast, whereas I said it would take a while. Well, it turns out I lost my bet, and it pretty much worked on the first go. A fact that really wasn't that ideal, as it turned out we didn't have a huge amount of savings, we didn't have our own place, and we weren't married at that point. Not that we weren't happy about being pregnant, we were so thrilled, but it did come with apprehensions because of all the things I just said, and also the fact that I had previously suffered 5 early miscarriages, and that pain never leaves you. It's so raw, and so I was understandably apprehensive that this pregnancy would go the same way and it wouldn't stick. So I didn't tell people I was pregnant for the longest time. I only actually told my parents and Dave, because I didn't want to tell loads of people and then it disappear. Some people were happy and others had the same apprehension that I had, that my mental health would be detrimental to motherhood, and a daily struggle, as I've said, but it is possible. So for those of you out there dealing with that particular worry, I suppose, of your mental health and your baby, it is possible. I'd urge you to surround yourself with supportive people. As I said, I've got a great support network, and I've got family around me supporting me, and my husband and my son. Me and my husband decided early on that we were going to raise our son to be close to the family as a whole, rather than just me and his dad, which works really well for us because he's so much more independent, and his social interactions are great. He's just amazing. What I would suggest is that whether you've got a mental health condition prior to falling pregnant or you're just pregnant, always have a support network, because it's always helpful to have somebody that will watch the baby for even 10 minutes so you can have a hot cup of tea. It all helps, and it helps your baby's development too. So I'd urge you to do that. When I found out I was pregnant, obviously ecstatic, but it also came with a lot of complicated nonsense, really, because I'd previously had miscarriages and obviously mental health and medication. I became obsessed that my medication was going to harm my unborn child. Now, I found out I was pregnant at 8 weeks, and my doctor referred me automatically to the perinatal team. In the meantime, I tried to contact my psychiatrist, and I was told by her secretary that I couldn't see my psychiatrist because I was pregnant, so it was the perinatal team. Little did I know at the time that the perinatal team won't see you until after 16 weeks, when your baby becomes much more viable, because before the 16-week period the chance of miscarriage is quite high. But I didn't know that, so I began to really freak out because I couldn't see somebody about my medication, and I'd done the terrible thing of Googling my medication, which you shouldn't do, because anything you Google health-wise, it is always terrible. So I decided to stop taking my medication because I didn't want to hurt my unborn child. So my husband called the crisis team and basically said she's stopping the medication, and it was actually their psychiatrist that reassessed my medication, changed my dosages, and actually wrote me a letter to put my anxiety at ease, explaining that my medication would not harm my unborn baby, and you know, really not to worry. Absolutely fantastic. When I did eventually see the perinatal team at the 16-week mark, we discussed my mental health, we discussed my thoughts on being pregnant, and you know, how I was finding it, and I also, you know, pointed out to them that I'd been left in limbo, where I couldn't see anybody. And I did that so that somebody else wouldn't be in the same situation that I was in at that point. But I actually did it to prevent somebody else going through it. Because I'd seen a midwife, two midwives, a GP, and I'd spoken to a secretary and the perinatal team, and not one of them had told me that it's not till 16 weeks. And I'm like, well, that's a gap in the information that shouldn't be there. I ended up not getting on with my original perinatal psychiatrist. She didn't read my notes, she didn't listen to me about medication, and so after my son was born, I ended up changing my psychiatrist. That's not to say that my original psychiatrist was bad at her job. It was just that I didn't really get on with her way of working. It used to just cause me anxiety, and I found the appointments pointless. The second psychiatrist I had with the perinatal team was phenomenal. She was absolutely amazing. So if you do find yourself dealing with a professional at any stage in your life, really, but at any stage during your pregnancy and after birth, you have absolutely the right to say, this isn't working for me, I need to see somebody else. And you can either make a formal complaint, or you can just get a referral to another. And I know that there's different health visitors that cover different areas and midwives that do the same, but just be aware that you may have to travel that bit further to see an alternative. So that's pretty much the end of part 1. Leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Part 2 is coming soon, and please do me a favour and share this video as much as you possibly can, because I'm really quite an introvert and don't have that many people to share it. Thank you.